Parker, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
This movie, I mean, everything you want in a horror film. I love the music component of it. So what was that like kind of balancing? Because you're making a really terrifying horror movie, mission accomplished, but I love the music component. So what was that kind of like putting that in and balancing the two of them?
You know, I thought that the world of pop felt so diametrically opposite from what we expect from a horror film, and it just felt like a really exciting arena to explore. But in going into it, I wanted to really build credibility, you know, not just make it a tacked on thing like, oh, she happens to be a pop star, but I wanted to sort of blur the lines between fiction and reality and make it feel like a real pop star. And so we took that very seriously about crafting original songs and developing real, you know, choreography. And Naomi Scott is so talented. She's actually singing those songs. She's performing that choreography. And yeah, huge challenge to do all of that in the middle of a very intense horror film. Absolutely.
Every time you make a sequel to a film, I think one of the big questions is how are we going to make it bigger, right? This is like extremely bigger. Mission accomplished. What are those first kind of preliminary thoughts about how are we going to make it bigger? How are we going to make it scarier? Like early on, even maybe before the script's written.
You know, I always say, like, I didn't want to go bigger just for bigger's sake. I wanted it to truly feel organic, you know? And when I was first thinking about approaching a sequel, I didn't want to just, you know, go the traditional route of continuing it or you know, some retread of the original. I wanted to challenge myself to do something unexpected, fresh, you know, and that's how I landed on this idea of this pop star. But, you know, it was about, if I'm going to ask an audience to give me their time again, how am I going to make it worthwhile for them? How am I going to give them like a brand new ride to go on and end at a new level of catharsis?
Horror movies have always been around, especially me, you know, when I was able to start going to them, PG-13, The House of Wax, the Amityville Horror, right? I mean, there's something, they've always been around, but there's something about the last, you know, 10 years, last decade, they've just been elevated and more popular. What's it like being part of that world at a time where there's such a buzz about the genre, and it doesn't seem to go away. What's that like for you?
Well, you know, I love that we seem to be in this horror renaissance. I mean, there's been great horror films forever. I think, you know, it's sort of, there's been all these cycles of horror, but it's really cool that people seem to be, you know, paying attention in a new way to horror now. And I think that horror is so good at sort of holding up this mirror to society and sort of reflecting all these like anxieties and stresses that we're all feeling. And I'm really excited that Smile is part of that. And I love, you know, trying to be in dialogue with other filmmakers, you know, and I love seeing everything else that's coming out as well.
In my opinion, in this film, because I saw it last night, there's a character in the film not played by. I feel like the sound in this movie is a character on its own. You're smiling when I say that. You seem to be very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, sound is one of my favorite parts of the process.
Music, but I'm talking the sound. Like, this movie is just, you know what I mean? So like, obviously that was kind of part of the plan early on when you were writing it too. Like, just like the sound is just so eerie, and like when she's in the hotel and everything, just the light switches. What was that like? Just seeing that come to life, so to speak.
You know, I think that sound is so incredibly important to all films, but especially in a horror film. You know, I'm really trying to sort of create this soundscape between my sound designer, Dan Kenyon, and my composer, Cristobal Tapia de Veer, you know, creating this sandbox, this sonic sandbox that is really anxiety-inducing and stressful, both when it's very loud, but also when we drop down to silence, and sort of trying to modulate the audience in that way, but trying to avoid, you know, horror tropes, trying to do things that feel fresh and unique, and bringing elements of pop into our score was really exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the nightmares. I can't wait for people to see it. I really appreciate your time, Parker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.